Christoph, we've done this podcast since April, and this is the first time we're face-to-face.
So, are we recording or?
Yeah. Oh. This goes in as well.
Is the thing on?
Testing.
We had some in-person recordings. Most of them I did with people around Nomad events.
Yeah.
And we've done many episodes together through online platforms, but this is the first one where Palle, you and me are sitting in the same room, and now today with a very interesting guest.
Yeah, we're in Bangkok right now, we might say, and we're on our way to Chiang Mai to get the whole thing ready for the event in January. And we have an interesting guest. You're a voiceover guy, so please can you introduce yourself with your best voiceover voice?
Yeah, my name is Jürgen, and I'm from Germany, and so I would like to just introduce... No, I'm kidding. In a world, as the classic...
One man,
two girls.
No, it's not that kind of podcast.
Okay.
The name is Pavi Lustig?
Yes, I do voiceovers. I call myself a digital VOMAD. VO for voiceover. And I have to say, I didn't come up with that. That honor goes to a colleague who did it just before me, who's also an avid traveler and voiceover guy.
I'm going to steal that too, because I do a little bit of voiceover myself.
Right, yeah.
And I didn't really know that this is actually a thing until about a year ago. Yanni, I hope you're listening here. While being on a sailing trip, I met a Finnish sailor who was on his way with his girlfriend from Finland through the Biscay. We met somewhere in the English Channel. And he is doing voiceover on his sailboat. So he has put up a little recording studio in the bow of the boat and records stuff in Finnish. And I found that so interesting. And now we're sitting together with a voiceover... Do you say artist? Are you a voiceover artist?
I'm a voiceover artist or a voiceover actor or voiceoverist or, yeah, I mean, it's all kind of interchangeable. But basically, I record my voice and make a living from that. Yeah.
And you do that in different languages, in your native German language and in English as well?
Yeah, so I would say like 80% in German. And then sort of 20% in this quirky kind of international global English. I mean, I have to say I'm half British, is what my passport says.
Really?
But I can't. Yeah, I mean, but I can't market myself as a Brit anymore. I mean, I grew up in England until I was 22, and I really sounded like a Brit back then. But then I spent many years after that, back in Germany and in the German. Yeah, boy, mate.
Mate.
The Cockney style. I can still do it if I push to, but if I'm just like, speaking conversationally, which is actually the style that is most required now, even in commercials, you know. In general, like all over the world, people are tired of that typical commercial, like, "Hey, $1.99, buy me now." That kind of like pushy
I hate that
voice
thing. Yeah,
that just doesn't work anymore either, right? So that the clients want a conversational style.
Yeah.
So when I do that, I don't sound either British, I don't sound American or Australian, and that has also played. It's worked to my advantage because there's a lot of international, multinational, global companies that want an unplaceable accent.
But that is what is a neutral English. I have friends. Maybe that was after I did a lot of road tripping in the U.S. where it rubbed off on me. I had people asking me, "Are you trying to sound American?" I was like, "God, no! I just want to speak an English that people can understand." But what is that?
Yeah, they used to call it Mid-Atlantic.
Okay,
back in the days. What's that, Azores? No,
yeah,
I don't know. That doesn't exist, right? But it's something that's closest to, probably in the States, to a Boston accent, which is a more neutral American that leans towards the British, or British rather, whatever. Like they would say car instead of car.
So before we get into all these nitty-gritty details of how you manage your everyday recording in changing locations, can you walk us through the business of working as a voiceover actor from A to Z? How do you get your gigs? What is a rate range for pay? How does that work?
Yeah, gladly. Most people think I just voice all the time and somehow get money magically. So there's actually quite a strategy to it.
And that's the real work.
It's, maybe 20% of my working day or time is actually spent in front of the mic. The rest, it's like I would say it's based on 3 pillars. So you've got one pillar is your business hat, where you do a lot of your promotion, your marketing, liaising with the clients, the emails, the negotiating. The second pillar is your audio engineering hat, where you need to know about the technology and your recording gear, the mics, the acoustics, etc. And lastly is the actual art of your performance, right? And doing the actual voiceover work.
But I guess your clients are not the brands themselves; they're like agencies in between. Or do you have an agent that does the business side on your behalf, or how does it work?
I do have some agents, but honestly, they act more like a calling card or a seal of approval to potential clients to know that, he's got an agent, he's probably quite good. Honestly, I get most of my work myself, but I've got them on my website, and it can't hurt to have them. But I do the negotiating myself mainly. I know there's some colleagues who get so many, especially in the States, they get so many requests that they simply have to outsource that to an agent. But to get more into detail, first I have to ask about what this production is intended for. Where is it supposed to be broadcast? Is it on TV? Is it on the internet? Is it a pre-roll for YouTube? Those classical ads that you see that often you click away. So they're meanwhile priced at the same level as a national TV ad. Because they have a similar kind of exposure.
Are there standards for Germany? There is for Denmark, but are there standards for how much each of those things are worth? And you shouldn't go below that. That's a minimum. People do anyway. But
very much. Each country has their own guidelines, more or less, or some kind of a voice acting association that publish guidelines that you should try to stick to, but that's what they are. They're a good guideline of what you can more or less earn. So to give you an example, for a national TV ad for 12 months, you would get 700 euros in Germany. That's a lot less in Spain. It's a lot less in India, a lot less in China.
But is the currency then like number of seconds aired or number of seconds recorded, or what is the multiplier that you use to get to the price?
So it's actually in the case of commercials, it's per film, per spot,
and it doesn't matter if it's 20 seconds or 40 seconds.
No. And they're rarely over 40 seconds.
No.
But a 7-second will cost the same as a 70-second if there were such a thing. Yeah. And then even if they just end up changing even just the lettering in an ad, that is then classed as a separate spot, and they will just reuse your voiceover. You don't have to redo the voice, but you'll get paid again. And the same after 12 months. If the client wants to reuse my voice, they will just simply have to pay me again. And that's it.
But I guess in ads that doesn't happen very often.
It doesn't happen often, but sometimes it does. It's always nice to get an email saying, hey, we would like to reuse the thing you did last year. You don't have to work anymore, but just send us an invoice.
Here's the money.
Yeah.
But is it full price the second year or half price?
Full price. So it's 100% of what you...
In Denmark, it's 50% for the extra year.
Oh, is that right?
And also, if you do more recordings, more commercials in the same recording session, number 2 and 3 are 50% of the first one, and 3 and 4 are 25%, and then after that it's 10% of the first one. So if you do like 10 commercials in the same recording session, the price goes lower, which makes sense as well.
But that sounds like the Danish voiceover actor cartel is less powerful and competitive than the one in other countries.
No, but they set these standards as well, and so many go below them.
Yeah,
nobody charges that, and that annoys me as somebody who has a production company. At some point, I went to them and said, either you stick to the prices, because I always pay full price, but I don't want to be an idiot and pay full price when my competitors don't. So either you stick to your prices or you change them. But it never happened. So they still have these, and it's based off what the Actors Union said that the price should be for each commercial, and that voiceover group are doing the same, but nobody follows them. There's such a competitive market.
Even in Germany, it's hard to stick to those guidelines, but I still try to as much as I can. But obviously, if it's a good client or an old client, or they want to, you offer batch pricing. If they immediately say to you from the get-go, we want to do 5 ads with you, then of course I'll give them a discount. just like you would in a shop. But this morning, I mean, I declined a job from a very famous voice acting website that was insulting. It was for an AI TTS, as they're called, text-to-speech recording, which is basically what trains the AI models. And they were offering a rate of $20 to $50 per finished audio hour. And that is like ridiculously insulting. It should be more like 500, if that. I mean, that's still low. And they didn't even detail the usage implementation. So that's a whole thing that you have to read up on and get on top of, like, know your pricing.
Yeah, but there are also, I don't know if it's one of those, but there are online platforms where international clients can find a German voice or a Chinese voice or a Bulgarian or a Danish voice. There's voices.com and voice123.com. Do you get any business from some of those?
I do. I'm now at a stage where I'm taking a step back from them because they follow the American model in the sense of that you have to audition for these jobs. So it's like a job board.
A lot of auditions.
Yeah. So it's good for a beginner, and it was for me as well. I joined those websites almost 20 years ago, and it's a great way for a beginner to get going and start practicing as well in a sort of real world scenario. So then you end up collecting a portfolio of your voice on your hard drive, which you can then send to other clients and shop around with. And so it's a definitely good way to get started. But these websites also have a reputation for undercutting what should be normal industry market rates. Right? But with the advent of AI, it's all changing. Yeah. So if you come in high with your negotiating or with whatever it is that you're asking for, then there's just even more of a of a reason for people to go with an AI voice that may not be 100% what they want, yet it's affordable. So, but I mean, I've specialized in commercials, which is advantageous because it's less work and more pay, and it's easier to do on the road. But there's, I mean, the implementations are audiobooks. Everybody knows audiobooks, or even station announcements.
Do you do audiobooks as well?
So I don't, because it's a lot of work and because of my travels.
Yeah.
Right.
And I guess you need to have an environment where you can sit down for many, many hours with like a consistent sound profile.
Exactly.
And you also have to be very good at reading off script unless you really want to edit.
Yeah, it's a lot of work.
And a commercial usually lasts like 30 seconds.
Sometimes less.
Yeah. I mean, it's a half-hour work or an hour work with preparation and downloading the materials and this, that, and it's good pay depending on the usage. So if it's used for TV, you get a set rate, and that's for 12 months usage of my voice.
Yeah.
Then if they use that same thing for the internet, that's double. For cinema, again, double. For 2 years, double all that.
I'm very glad that we got your voice today just for a coffee.
Well, you could
wait till see the check.
Yeah, you can pay my bike ride here as well. That's another €1 here in Bangkok. Yeah, so that's the ins and outs of it. I mean, I don't do, like you say, audiobooks because I don't want to disappoint my clients and have different audio qualities if I'm moving around. So, I mean, I have a home booth in my base. I have 2 bases. One is in Goa in India, and the other one is in Salzburg in Austria. So if I know I'm going to be there for like a stretch of 2 weeks at least, then I could take on those jobs. But also, I'm fair enough to tell my clients I'm not. I'm traveling a lot, so better not.
Yeah.
And plus, I mean, audiobooks, they really require. It's almost like the pinnacle of voice acting. It requires acting skills, and I don't come from an acting background as such. So my way into voice acting was a bit of an unusual path. I switched sides of the mixing desk, if you like. So I came more from the technical side, and I trained as an audio engineer. And then I worked in several recording studios, first in the UK and then in Germany. And I basically copied. It was this typical German thing of learning by doing, as they say. Mm-hmm. And at one point, they used my voice, and then I heard it on TV. And then I was like, oh, maybe I could do this too. And then it slowly started building up my client base. And took it from there.
Yeah, a little side note for our listeners here. Before we actually started the recording, I was sitting here as the newbie and listened to half an hour of nerding out of 2 audio guys talking about their microphones and their setups.
We had a private conversation last night, and that became very, very geeky.
And actually, this podcast here is recorded with a very fancy piece of technology. So I would really really love you to comment below and let us know how you like the sound quality of this one, because I'm really excited about this. And I'm I just learned all this when we started this podcast. But this piece of technology that's standing here on the table, a
Norwegian startup called Nomono, and it's really cool.
Yeah.
So that's where you coming from, Pavi. You were a sound technician. So I guess as a sound technician, you're also not able to work location independently as a digital nomad. You have to be
in the studio
at productions in studios. Was this additional freedom on the other side of the microphone a thing that was driving you into a location independent lifestyle, or was it the other way around? What did your journey look like?
I was a bit of both. I mean, I was an audio engineer, first a junior, then a normal one, let's say, then a senior audio engineer at a big post-production company.
What kind of production was it? It wasn't music?
So it was for a company that many people will not have heard of, in a sense, directly, but yet they may have. It was for the Red Bull empire, which is what it is. It's a huge marketing company, and they have a smaller subsidiary called the Red Bull Media House that handles a lot of their media production, and they are involved in every kind of media. I think it's still the only media company that really does everything from print to cinema to audiobooks to computer games to and it's a lot of this really funky, cool material, right? That they do the extreme sports, the skydiving and the windsurfing and the Formula One. And so it was, and of course, because we had the huge soft drinks company behind us with a lot of that money, we had the nicest equipments to play with and the latest technology and great studios. And
all the energy drink you could possibly consume.
Way too much of that. Although none of us in the team liked it back then, honestly. Maybe because we had too much of it around us. And we were just coffee drinkers. Now that I've stopped working for them, I've started to develop a taste for Red Bull. But as employees of the company, we would get a whole crate of Red Bull at the end of each month. and none of us could ever finish it.
Yeah. So, Pavi, how much do you travel nowadays?
I'm really on the road a lot. I mean, like I said, I have two bases, one in Austria, one in Goa.
But now we're in Bangkok, so we're at none of those.
Yeah, exactly. So every 2 weeks I get itchy feet. So you can pretty much find me away for 2 weeks of the month from either one of my bases. Mm-hmm. So I just came back from Japan. I'm an avid motorbike rider. I love motorbikes. So I went on a tour over there. And I keep going to all sorts of different conferences. One of them is the one that we met at here. Also voiceover conferences, which happen in the States and in the UK a lot.
For our audience who wants to imagine this in a voiceover conference, actually no one is speaking. You just hear the voices coming from a speaker. What do we need to imagine a voiceover?
Well, it's a bit like at the nomad events. I mean, you have a lot of speakers that will offer workshops and just talk about the current state of the industry. I mean, where the art and the craft is going, and workshops in different styles of voiceover. If you want to learn to be better at computer games voiceover, the sort of the shouty stuff that's quite rough on the throat, or more into you want to hone your skills in a conversational style, how to read better, faster, whatever. I mean, it's a whole world unto itself.
You mentioned India and you mentioned motorcycles, and if you combine those two, you did a trip where you started recording. And that turned into a short film. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, that was an amazing adventure. So I joined a crew called Enfield is Prayer, almost like 10 years ago now, or maybe 8. And they called themselves motorcycle meditators. So so they're not your typical Hells Angels type with the leather jackets
and ponytails.
A few tattoos are there, but it's a very renegade, rebellious form of touring India on these old heritage Indian bikes called Royal Enfields, lovely one-cylinder thumpers and 350 or 500cc bikes for those who know a bit about.
So where were the people from, that group?
Mainly international, some Americans, some Germans, some Japanese, I mean all over, mainly foreigners. It was a way to get to know the country in a really nice way without taking planes or trains. Mm-hmm. It's honestly the best way to get to know a country because you're just so close, you're 2 inches off the ground and you go through little villages and you get a feel for those places that you ride through. Mm.
You have produced a little short film, like I think 9 minutes about that. I watched this morning, and there was this key sentence that stuck in my head. It's something like, 4 wheels transport the body and 2 wheels transport the soul.
Oh, that is beautiful.
4 wheels move the body, but 2 wheels move the soul.
Move the soul.
Move the soul, yeah. It felt like that. And I kept filming. I was the media guy of the crew, so I had a 360 camera set up on the handlebar and some mics, and I just...
And some drone shots as well?
Yeah.
We'll link the video in the show notes below.
Awesome, yeah.
And that video, you... tell us about you. It won a ton of awards, and because you uploaded it to some kind of platform that might inspire people to use that as well. But tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, that was a real surprise, because I somehow stumbled upon a website called Film Freeway for filmmakers who can just upload their video, and then you can very easily, with a click or two, submit it to various film festivals, even the big ones from Cannes to Berlinale to whatever. And
what's the name of the platform?
Film Freeway. And be careful if you sign up, because you do get spammed then from film festivals all over the world. But
that rings a bell. I think I met back in the days in my old Berlin times. I met a guy in the startup ecosystem who wanted to do exactly that, wanted to create a platform for like syndication and submission to all film festivals. Maybe that's even the same.
Maybe that's his thing.
But that's like 15 years ago.
Okay.
And then you started winning?
Yeah, it was a passion project, a classical passion project that was not meant to be seen by anybody except for us. But I was just like on a whim, okay, I'll take $100 and let's see, just submit it. And suddenly it took off, and it started winning all sorts of awards in different categories and different film festivals all over the world. Over 50 now, meanwhile.
Say again?
It's like 50.
50.
Yeah, it really surprised me. But at the end of the day, I really thought about this. Like, why was this little short film? It's a 9-minute documentary, travel movie, basically. Why was it so successful? But probably because it was done without an audience in mind. And I just really did what I wanted to do. And I did the whole thing, basically, from... the filming to the voiceover to the audio mixing, with my background in audio engineering, and I just had a little help with the coloring in the end. I got a professional in to do that. But yeah,
coming up the Oscars.
It's interesting. When I watched it this morning, I thought, like, in the end, I was like, who was this made for? It felt really like it was just made for the people who attended. Like, if you go on a family trip and someone in the family with some skills records some nice video and shares that with everyone else afterwards, just at a different level, like higher level, and a lot of techno.
That
was a bit surprising.
Right, yeah. Well, that's another part of my background, and probably another reason why I live in Goa, because I used to be a trance DJ. So in my early 20s, I really got into the psychedelic trance scene back in the UK, and I played for a label there called Alchemy Records. And I DJ'd all over Europe, and even put on one of the first Psytrance 5-day festivals, a rave basically, in the desert near Madrid in 2003, to give you some idea of how old I am. So yeah, that's kind of my background, and I still love techno and trance music. So I use that as a backing. At the same time as I made this movie, that song just got released. Okay, that was the one thing I didn't produce, and the track is actually called Mama India. So at its essence, this whole film is a love letter to India. I mean, it's a little amateurish now, even for me looking back on it, because it's a lot of shaky iPhone footage, but it's very raw and real.
And that's what works.
Right? It's honest.
Yeah.
And it touches people. And together with the sound, with the music, that's called Mama India, it just fit like a glove. And so the producers of that track from Brazil, they got wind of me having used that track with their permission, of course, with permission of the record label that was released on. And they have so many followers in Brazil, so then they profiled that on their Instagram in Brazil, and then it took off after that. So
stars aligned.
Yeah. That's kind of like the red thread through the entire conversation. I mean, we first met here like 2 days ago, and we touched so many topics in the meantime that and the listeners probably already get that. We could record like a 3-hour episode, and we really need to stay within our time frame.
If you want a part 2, let them know.
Yeah, and the entire conversation started that we talked about a mutual friend, and I don't want to give away too much here on this episode
not yet.
But there is another person that we both know, that we both met at another, or that I first met at another Nomad event in Da Nang at the Vietnamese Nomad Festival in I think in March. And we have planned something with that person in the future. It's also connected to audio and will at one point probably make an impact here on our podcast.
Oh, you're almost saying too much now.
I'm almost saying too much. I'm almost saying too much.
People who know.
Stay tuned.
Exactly. People who know. And Pavi is a close friend with that other person, and then it turned out like the world is small. We have so many touch points, and then we can't record this podcast without at least giving a little hint to our German audience about your family history. And I mean, this podcast is about you and your nomadic lifestyle, but I mean, especially the German speakers here have all grown up with your father having an impact on their lives.
And perhaps even my mother.
And most probably your mother as well.
So you mean your father had an impact on your mother?
As well, the other way around.
And that's why we have you now. So tell us just three sentences about that part.
Yeah, I mean, this wonderful podcast is, of course, in English and for an international audience. But yeah, for the Germans, my father, his name is Pavi Lustig. So that will ring a bell for many. He used to be the presenter of Germany's longest-running children's TV show.
Naja, zum Glück gibt's die Physik. Sie hilft an allen Enden. Und hast du erst kapiert, wie ein Hebel funktioniert, dann kannst du ihn auch richtig verwenden.
And a staple in most German families' lives on a Sunday morning when the kids would switch on their TV.
We all have that kind of person in each country, and I could mention some for Denmark. I won't, because it won't mean anything to other than Danes. But that's interesting.
Yeah, and his work was a bit more like I would say, kind of like Brits would know a David Bellamy or a David Attenborough. That kind of a show that was educational yet fun to watch. Never treated kids as, like on an eye level, basically. Never treated them as silly kids that have to be talked down to, but actually treated them with respect, and ended up winning, I think, the Bundesverdienstkreuz in Germany, which is one of Germany's highest honors for his work to culture and whatnot. And he was just a cool guy.
When was his heyday on TV?
So in the 80s and 90s, into the early 2000s. And his show is still running, but now with a successor.
What was it like for you being a kid and a teenager? Was it cool, or was it kind of, I don't want to talk about that anymore?
Yeah, it was a bit of both. My parents both said it was super cute, because when I was in kindergarten, I would go up to other boys and say, "So which show is your dad on?" Like I thought that everybody has a dad that has a father that's on TV, right? But apparently it wasn't that. And then at some point I actually lost track of just how famous he was, because I then went to a boarding school in the UK from age 8 onwards, where I didn't get German TV. This is in early 90s.
That's probably healthy in some sense.
Yeah, but at the same time, then in my holidays, I would go back to Germany and I would want to just spend quality time with my dad. And I would realize that we would get besieged on the street from autograph hunters. People would recognize him and say, "Oh, can I get your autograph?" and stuff. And I just wanted to spend time with my dad, right? And it was a bit annoying, I remember, thinking back now. And he was always so kind to everyone and so, "Yeah, sure." And
was he the same person on TV that he was as your dad?
Very much. Probably more than other sort of famous TV personalities.
So he spoke to you and I level too?
Yeah. And because he wasn't an actor. And he always said of himself, he can't do any other character rather than himself.
And I mean, he got recognized in the streets because he showed his face on camera, which your mother didn't, but she had a similar impact on kids at the same time.
Yeah. So my mother was the author of Benjamin Blümchen and Bibi Blocksberg, which are another two sort of children's characters that are as famous as Mickey Mouse in the German-speaking world, more or less. Of course, nobody knows her face, which she's very happy about, because she's not an attention seeker or doesn't like being in the limelight. But her work has impacted millions of children. So I'm like a product of these two child stars, heroes. And in fact, there was another German podcast released about half a year ago about exactly that, a 6-part series about my family history. So I
hope with some good narrator and voiceover.
really not bad. I mean, I could.
But it would have been full circle if you did the voiceover,
right? Well, they interviewed me for that as well, so I appear in the 6th episode.
Okay.
It would have been strange if I would have done the voiceover as well. But actually, after I heard the end product, which I didn't get to hear before they released it, they said, no. I mean, you won't have any input in how this is going to go. But I said, okay, I'll trust these guys. Which is unusual because actually my family has a bad experience of working with let's say mainstream media because they like to twist stuff in a very sensationalist way. But somehow we went with this crew, and I thanked them in the end for having made such a good portrayal of my family history, something that I can actually leave or even play my son, who's 10 years old now, so that he can get a sense of what his grandparents were up to.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I'd like to get back to your life as a traveler and bringing your microphone and having to do work. I have a friend in Denmark, and she was a digital nomad and a voiceover artist, and she traveled around the world, and she had this skeleton of a voiceover booth and then a heavy blanket, and had a special bag for that thing. And I do some voiceovers too. I don't have that, so I would typically either go inside my closet if I need to do some voiceover to get some soft space around me, or even sit in the middle of the bed with a blanket over my head, and if it's a short thing. What is your strategy? How do you work? How do you do that? And how do you get it silent? Because it might be noisy outside as well.
Yeah. I've honed that down to a fine art. Meanwhile, I've had to, and of course, my whole history as an audio engineer helped me with that as well. Knowing a bit about acoustics and the technology that I use, and I teach about this at digital nomad events. I had a little a workshop on the sides of the Co-Live Fukuoka recently, and some other events. So I've got a presentation on exactly that. And my go-to trick is a cupboard. Most hotels will have a dresser. One of those, ideally with the 2 doors, like I think you call them double-breasted.
Yes,
right?
Yes.
So a duvet in there, and then I travel with a little Gorilla Pod tripod, which has magnetic feet, but you can also just sling it over the bar, hang your mic from that. It's normally anyway at head level, but if not, I can extend the tripod with a selfie stick. And I always said, kill me if you ever see me with a selfie stick. But now I travel with one just for that use, so that I can extend the tripod. As many duvets and blankets and shirts in there as possible, just to dampen the sound. And I always travel with some clips, like these typical background photography clamps. Right? I used those as my calling card at one point as well, like writing my website on there. And that would be my sort of, kind of gimmicky business card that I would hand people these clamps. And then with those clamps, I would clamp another duvet on top, like behind me. So imagine me in a dark cupboard, speaking
over the doors that are open to this closet.
Exactly, and towels on the inside of the doors. So it's. I
thought I came up with that. It's very similar. I don't have the clamps. I need to get the clamps. So,
yeah. At one point, I mean, there's quite a few of us sort of travelers. Probably I'm the one that takes it to the extreme, the amount I travel and how I do my voiceovers on the road. But we actually have a Facebook group called the Pillow Fort Studio. A whole bunch of voice actors that upload pictures of their hotel booths, right? And we kind of rate each other's pillow forts.
That sounds even like a business idea for a directory of audio recording friendly hotel room layouts, so where you can list all those hotels by their rating.
I think the market is still a bit small for that, probably.
But what about street noise? And you spend a lot of time in Goa, in India in general, and that can get very noisy. What do you do about that? You record in the middle of the night so you get rid of that, or what do you do?
Yeah, it can be a challenge.
Yeah.
My main weapon against that is the mic I use, which is a directional mic, a shotgun mic they're called, or pencil mic, and it just means that already from the technology it'll only really record what's right in front of it instead of what's to the side. Yeah. And if what's right in front of it is my mouth, then it'll mainly pick up my mouth. A few times I could hear stuff in whatever booth I'm in and redo my take thinking, there was something like a dog barking or a rickshaw honking. And then I listened back on the recording and it just wasn't there because the mic didn't pick it up. I mean, I could hear it, but the mic didn't. So that really makes a huge difference. Yeah. So I'd recommend going with those kind of mics, but you have to then also make sure that you keep your head very much straight and on axis, as they say. Yeah. Otherwise, you'll sound a bit strange.
Yeah. No more geeking out. I promise you, Chris.
I would like to have a look into the future. You mentioned AI already shortly. I have, in the last 2 years, listened to at least 3 different startup pitches on stages where they came up with business models of creating voiceover voices available on a click online. So do you already see an impact to your job, to your profession by that? And how do you see the future of what you're doing?
Yeah. Huge issue in the voiceover world. Has been since 2 years or 3 years now. And it's not an easy one to answer. It goes both ways. I've definitely noticed getting less jobs when these AI voice models first came out, but they would take the sort of what you call the low-hanging fruit, the more budget productions.
Yeah. And actually, to be honest, the boring stuff.
Yeah, in a sense. But I was still worried. I mean, I started to really think about, okay, I got to change route and branch out, do something else, because this is not going
better and better and better.
They are. But at the same time, I've never earned as much as I have in this last year because of AI. At the same time, I've been approached by quite a few companies who have asked to model my voice. So I've now been able to clone my voice and become a robotic voice myself.
Yeah.
I guess it also means most of your clients inquire you because they want a voice that stands out. They want a professional voice that is not in every TikTok video. So I guess it harms your business if you do both. You whether like the premium boutique niche brand with your voice, or you do AI and everything.
Yeah. Funnily enough, I got approached by TikTok if I wanted to be one of their voices, and I turned that down because there's been a precedence case in our voiceover world of a lady in Canada who had her voice used as the TikTok voice without her knowledge. So she'd actually recorded for a Scottish company, which later got bought out by the owners of TikTok, and suddenly she appeared in every TikTok video, and she had no control over what she would say, what the users would make her say, right? And so anyway.
And I guess also once you're out there, once your voice is in every second TikTok, why would any company want you to speak their commercial? Because it's just a TikTok voice.
Yeah, because as somebody in the industry as well, and I'm also a little bit concerned about it, but I see myself using AI voices for something where I would maybe in the past go and buy a real human to do the voiceover. If it's just a little bit, I don't need that. But I spoke, and this was 3 years ago. I was it was not 11 Labs, it was Revoicer, and I was looking and listening to the Danish voices, and my God, that one of the male Danish voices, he sounded like a guy, a voiceover artist or an actor, a voice actor. He's the voice of Pumbaa in Denmark. And he's one of the voices I've used before. And I reached out to him and said, Lars, this sounds like you. I said, yeah, I did that. And they paid me for that. I said, but aren't you afraid that you're not getting hired? I said, nah, they paid me for that. And what that can be used for is the boring stuff that I really don't want to do anyway. And they don't pay that well. But I'm a voice actor. And when people want something where there are some acting involved, it can't do that yet.
Yes,
but
that's the point.
But that was his take on it. But I'm a little bit concerned that also my voice would be out there promoting stuff that.
That's a bit. I've turned down a few jobs already. We have to be really careful with the contracts now to really read the fine print to make sure that it can only be used for what it's intended for. Yeah. And if not, if the usages are very broad or vague, that you get remunerated accordingly, which is what happened in this case of the AI voice that I did. Yeah, but I've had clients who have come back to me now and said, listen, we've tried it with AI. We still can't prompt it to such a degree that we're getting what we actually want. So it's not there yet, but who knows, in a year or two, I mean, it is just getting better and better and better. But right now I'm riding the wave of, hey, all these companies knocking on my door wanting to digitize my voice, make models out of it. And as long as I make sure that it doesn't overlap too much or start stealing jobs from the actual me, I'm still good.
So where do you see yourself in the future?
I would say in 10 years, I would probably be doing something else. It's very hard to recommend now to people who ask me how to get into the industry or to actually tell them to do so. Because it's, first of all, a lot of competition now. After COVID, many people wanted to get into this line of work because it was something they could do from home. And everyone's like, hey, I've got a mouth, I can speak. Not really knowing that there's really quite a lot of training and skill behind it as well. But yeah, I think it's, in a sense, this whole thing is weeding out a lot of the competition as well, people who are giving up, let's say. I mean, there's all sorts of different levels of voice acting. Everyone's got their speciality, everyone's got a different style of voice. The people don't come to me for my voice just because I'm famous, for example, as they would for a famous actor, all right? So that's a whole other level of voice acting when you go for somebody who's even a famous dubbing actor of, say, Arnold Schwarzenegger or whatever. So I'm very aware that I'm interchangeable.
Yeah.
But for now, it's good, and it's a great line of work to be doing. It enables me to travel and earn a decent living, and it's fun at the same time. So.
Thank you, Pavi. I think we covered a lot of topics here, both all three, past, present, future, of what you're doing. And so I would say thank you and ask you to speak with your best voiceover actor voice, the outro of this podcast.
And please end it with, I'll be back.
In my best Arnie impression.
Thank you for listening to the Nomad Summit podcast. This was produced by radioguru.co.uk. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and tune in again next week for another amazing episode of the Nomad Summit podcast.
I'll be back.
That's silly.
That was silly and weird.
Right?
And I loved it.
Produced by radioguru.co.uk.